Wait.
You guys take notes.
Okay.
Take good notes.
Okay. I need to take notes too.
Today I'm going to explain Principlism.
Hey! What? At least wait till we have paper.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Host Eric, and I'm here with famous people Addie and Anoop. And we're talking Principlism. Oh yeah. There's nothing quite as exciting as an extended conversation about Principlism. It's kind of true. Here we go. In this particular resolution topic area, as in all policy debate topic areas, the topic area is there, but the actual thing that you're supposed to be doing is advocating for some kind of policy change. So the affirmative is supposed to be saying, let's do something. Let's do this, let's do that. At the very least in policy debate, no matter how much removed from the topic it might get in its argumentation, it's at least advocating this. Vote for me, Judge. Don't vote for them. They should lose. You should vote for me instead. It's at least advocating that. So it's advocating for some sort of an action to be taken by some agent, which is why in policy we have critiques like agent specificity. If you try to run a policy app that doesn't have any agent, people will run an ASPEC on you. And they'll say, that's not giving us anything. You're not affirming. You're not affirming because you're not presenting an advocacy that is an implementable plan of any sort, nor are you winning because you're writing some sort of critique. You're just running a non-agent specified plan, and a plan text like that won't attain, can't attain any outcomes. Either it can't attain any outcomes, or you are refusing to debate the issue of which agent performs those outcomes, in which case there's no reason to assume that you haven't met your burdens, basically. You haven't met your burdens going in to show that this thing is possible in terms of the claims it makes, that it is going to actually attain the outcomes that it says it's going to make, and that it is additionally enactable, and without an agent it's not. So that's ASPEC in policy, but what I'm talking about today is not ASPEC. It's what you do to people who actually follow the rules and say, okay, well, let's do this. Let's propose a plan text, and here's the plan text, and follow the rules, it's not really the rules, but it's follow the default, I guess, and say, all right, well, here's the plan text, here's the action we should take. So my point is, we should take actions consistent with frameworks, with the deontological framework, consistent with a negative rights framework as a country, as our policy action, and consistent with the truth. So as a result of that, we can argue the following. When you do otherwise, when you advocate for positions that are not true, and not consistent with what is the truth, not consistent with what is ethically correct, not consistent with the reality of an individual human being as a moral agent, when you're dealing with a situation when the policy is not consistent with that stuff, the only way to justify it, and the way it's always justified, is by making predictions. The predictions are no better in general when dealing with the behavior of nations than just a crapshoot, to the extent that they deviate from consistency with the negative rights framework. So what does this mean for the policy AF and neg? Well, for an AF team, they need to either make claims and arguments that are consistent with actual reality and consistent with all the TI stuff, the introverted thinking stuff that we do about reality, all the systems, all the algorithms, all the little system, ways we deal with stuff, and our understanding the mechanisms that underlie systems, then we have a reality that precludes certain behaviors, makes them not possible or not okay. If the United States wants to influence China well, all it needs to do is be completely transparent and tell the truth, and speak the truth, and take clear moral stances that are non-threatening. If the United States is to, for example, say, we declare Chinese food tastes bad, it's the official statement of the United States. No matter how offended China might be by it, it's not a threatening statement. It's not addressed to China at all. It's not talking about China. It's just saying Chinese food is bad. If I say, for example, that the United States believes that the people of South Africa comprise an independent country, that's not threatening China, no matter what China has to say about South Africa. And the same thing's true of Taiwan. So what it is consistent with principlism is to state simple objective truths in a way that remove justifications for unjustifiable behavior. There's no way China can justify using military force on Taiwan.
You said principlism is like stating the simple truth about something?
Principlism is saying we don't decide what we do based on the circumstances. We don't go, well, look, in this instance, if we kill all those Indians, we could make $1 million. So we should kill all those Indians. Unless that's our principle. That's what we ought not do that unless that's our principle. That anytime we can make money off it, we should kill people. If we want to make that our principle, then we're not going to last very long in a civilized society, because individual humans don't want other humans to have carte blanche to go around killing people every time they feel like getting some free money. The thing to note about that is when governments make predictions such as, oh, we shouldn't recognize Taiwan as an independent country because, well, why not? There's only one possible reason why we don't currently. Is it because we don't like Chinese food? Or because we don't like Taiwanese food? Or is it because the moon is round? Why is it that we don't recognize Taiwan right now as a country? Is it because Taiwan's not a country, so it would be incorrect of us to recognize them as such?
So when a government makes a prediction...
Well, I'm asking a question for you guys to think about, to try to answer. Why is it that the United States does not recognize Taiwan as a country?
Because everyone else doesnn't recognize Taiwan as a country, and
not everyone else doesn't.
Pressure.
How many, type Google or something, which countries recognize Taiwan as a country?
Pretty sure the U.S. does.
Does not. We do not.
But then why does it have like
Which countries have
Taiwan
Pokemon
and
Go?
stuff? Not Canada.
We can run as an impact.
22.
22 recognize it.
Oh wait, as the Republic of China.
How many recognize it as China?
As its own country.
As its own country, how many recognize it as China? We need the answer to both those questions.
Currently, 22 states recognize Taiwan as the Republic of China. Belize, Burkina Faso, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Guatemala, Haiti,
Haiti.
Haiti. I remember, I got a lot of stuff in there. Holy See, Honduras, Kiribati, Marshall Islands, Nauru, Nicaragua.
Clearer, I can't hear you. Nicaragua, Marshall Islands, what else?
Palau, Panama, Paraguay, Sao Tome, and Principe. I can't pronounce that either. Solomon Islands, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, and can't pronounce that either. St. Vincent, 22 states.
Okay,
It's just a bunch of little nothing countries, okay? And the thing about that is, what China's done is said, if you follow along with our request here, then we'll give you some sort of favored trading status.
Oh, and I found this article. It says there are 8 accepted criteria used to determine whether a place is an independent country, also known as a state with a capital or not. 1, has space or territory that is internationally recognized boundaries. Boundaries is okay. Has people who live there on an ongoing basis. Has economic activity and an organized economy. A country regulates foreign and domestic trade and issues money. Has the power of social engineering, such as education. Has a transportation system or moving goods and people. Has a government that provides public services and police power. Has sovereignty. No other state should have the power over the country's territory. And has external recognition. A country has been voted into the club by other countries.
Okay, so the point that that's making right there is that whether or not something is officially a country is dependent on a number of factors, because official country status is something you can decide to afford something. Okay? Now look.
It also says here only 25 countries as of early 2007 recognized Taiwan as an independent country, and they recognized it.
How many?
As 25.
So how many don't have any position on it at all? 23 do recognize it as Taiwan, as China, or 22 or whatever he said. 25 don't. How many have no position on it at all?
Many countries have set unofficial organizations to carry out commercial and other relationships with Taiwan. Taiwan has represented in 122 countries unofficially. Taiwan maintains contact with the U.S. through blah, 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 blah. And it's just saying that since China considers it as a province, a lot of countries don't want to contradict China. So therefore they don't.
Okay, I've got another possible angle on this whole case then. Because we could choose to side with China. We could say, we recognize that Taiwan is part of China.
We already do that. Or we don't consider it independent.
Right, we don't do either. We don't say, okay, you're part of China. And we don't say, yeah, you're Taiwan. I think, to the best of my knowledge, correct?
Yeah.
Figure it out. I mean, you're...
So there's a middle ground between...
Well, they're not, they're saying that it's
a
not
status.
Yeah, they're saying it's not part, they're saying it's not an independent country, but they're not saying it's not part of China either.
Yeah.
All right, and so one of our arguments is going to be the affording of the status should be consistent with reality as defined by those other criteria that aren't having had the status afforded. Remember, he read those criteria, and one of the criteria said, to be a real country, other countries have to say you're a real country, right? One of the points in our case is going to be, or should be, I think, or just a thought right now anyway, is that in order to be a country that's behaving as a country ought to, then you should afford that status of whether you're a real country or not based on the other criteria in this list. That last criteria about whether other countries say you are one or not is a good test to determine if a country is honest and good or conniving and bad. That if a country meets the previous criteria but is still considered to not have that status by a given nation who has the capacity to afford that status, then in fact the country who fails to afford that status is behaving in a bad fashion. What up, Ed?
Hey, 5th grade elementary PF is 2 hours or 3 hours?
Wait.
2.
Okay, since you both were in this room at the same time, Strauss, did you talk to Abe about adding more PF hours next year?
As I've explained to everybody, there's going to be a certain number of PF hours in class. I'm trying to keep the schedule lean.
What you told me on Facebook Messenger right now.
Okay, cool. Because Courtney just asked me to ask Strauss if he talked to you about adding PF hours. Okay, cool.
So we need to do this. Yeah, thank you.
Strauss, Taiwan does meet all of these criteria, so it should be considered.
Right. That's what we're going to say. It's like that last one that everybody agrees you're a real country. If you are somebody who's saying, it's for example this.
But why don't you just talk about the passports and stuff? Because Taiwan issues globally recognized passports that allow citizens to travel internationally. Taiwan is also a member of the International Olympic Committee and sent its own team to the Olympic Games. Recently, Taiwan has lobbied, stuff like that.
So it's a country, right? So you're saying if you are not affording the status according to whether or not it's actually a country by these other criteria, then you are intentionally lying. Now, if your country is intentionally lying to promote its own interests, that's not something that is going to help the international community. The international community will function best when the mechanisms of justice, which are transparency and truth, are upheld most. So the international community will function most effectively when, instead of being like, oh, China doesn't want us to say they're a regular country, so we'll play along with it, which just encourages them to have these sort of rhetorical bullshit games again. Instead of doing that, we're going to say, no, Taiwan is a country. It is. In fact, they're our friend. And if you attack them, we'll be there to defend them. That's how I want to respond to that. Hi.
Are you practicing
Almost.
I knew you were supposed to call and tell them what's up.
Are we going to 7 or?
What? We were going to make the decision around 6 o'clock or before 6, but nobody.
6:13.
None of us make decisions here. We're all just rolling.
Because the curriculum people say it's 3 to 6.
I do because my dad gets pissed off if I don't tell him.
Okay, well look. Then here, let's do this. Call your dad and say, we're going to end practice when you get here. That Anoop's whatever sister is here. Sister aunt.
My dad's going to be here in 30 minutes.
Alright, fine. So tell him we'll end practice at 6:45. And tell your sister we'll end practice at 6:45. If you have to leave a little earlier than that, then Addie-will just have to be lonely the last 5 or 10 minutes. But if you can stay for as long as you can. ENFP, ENTP, ENTP, all the three of us.
Practice at 6:45.
When we started class, it was, what time is it going to end? Said the parents.
Oh, that.
Oh,
If it takes 30 minutes to get
6
here,
or maybe 7. Well, which one? Well, it depends how we feel around time it gets near the end. They might be tired of
Okay,
it.
6:45
I might
to
be
30
tired.
minutes.
I don't know. We'll find out.
Okay, bye.
Well, can you have them call me before and plenty of time to pick them up? Oh, yeah, we'll definitely do that. Not any of us remember to do that, of course. We're just rolling along.
Oh, wait, shoot, my entire phone conversation is now talking with things.
No, it's not, because I was talking to the camera while you were doing that.
Yay!
And making scary eyes.
But my voice is a lot louder.
I cannot believe you're defying my authority. You can tell by my scary eyes that that's not wise.
Some people think Strauss is scary. I'm just like, how can you think that? How can you think that? That's what
Alright, let's return to the topic at hand. What were we talking about? Where was I?
Taiwan is a country, and lying about it is bad for everybody.
Right. So if we want to have effective international norms, people can disagree on interpretations, but they can't have their own. Everyone can have their own interpretation of the facts, but we can't have a functional system where everybody gets their own facts. Okay. Now China might successfully try to interpret the fact that Taiwan's an independent country, yes, but we think they ought not be, and we think we have claim upon them, and we would like to make our claims. But if they were required to make their claims in a way that's logically consistent and that actually is sustained by principles that are universally applied to all parties to make sure of a fair and level playing field, then, as a matter of fact, China would lose that argument. Why would China lose that argument, Anu?
Because it's lying, and we can see that Taiwan's already a country.
But if China said, but look, I know they were a country, but we're trying to say let's make them not be a country anymore. We deserve to take them over because They ran away from us when we were taking over the mainland and set up their own little thing over there. But they didn't have the right to do that because the people, we who took over here on the mainland, we took over the mainland and Taiwan. And then the fact that some rebels escaped and were just terrorists fighting us for a little while, that's not reason to prefer to let them win and celebrate the plunder of their victory of stealing Taiwan from China. So in fact, if in fact we're not allowed to say they're not an independent country, fine, they are an independent country, but we should take them back. We're going to go send troops to take them back, and you shouldn't complain about that. Why does that argument lose if you're trying to make that argument?
Because it's like, what's it called? Unprovoked violence against other people.
It's because of a reciprocal burden. China wouldn't be okay if that were our justification for taking over Hong Kong.
Hong Kong ran away from us?
No, but let's say Britain said that. Britain was like, look, I know we made that deal with you back then to say you can have Hong Kong back. But the fact is, guys, you're communists. No dice. Sorry, we're keeping it.
Unless you're,
We're keeping it. It's ours. We're British. We're Hong Kongese. And we're Brit Kongese-ish. We're Brit Kongese-ish. And we love it. We love it here in Hong Kong. Hi, I'm Judy. This is my husband, Walt. And we are absolutely adoring Hong Kong. Isn't that right, Walt? We are. We're loving it. And, you know, the food is spectacular. You tried the fish. Honey, remember that fish dish we had the other night? I do. It was served to us by a Brit Kongese-ish person. The point of it is, if Britain were to do it to China, China wouldn't say that's a valid warrant. Okay? Mm-hmm. If nations are going to interact with one another fairly, according to a code of behavior that constrains their behavior, that says, we will deem you either a legitimate actor, having a legitimate claim in this occasion, or an illegitimate claim in this occasion, if we won't have any kind of international standards that constrain behavior at all, then they have to adhere to the same rule that everything in life has to adhere to, reciprocal burdens.
To be honest, if like China actually said that, Britain could have gone, oh look, the United States ran away from us and we fought the independence war and they got recognized as their own country. Now we get to go take them back. Blah, blah,
right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so it would be the equivalent of England going, United States? You mean Britain West? West Britain? You mean West Britain? Yeah, it would be equivalent to that. But the point is, reciprocal burdens allows us to understand why it is principlism is preferable to other alternatives. I know that kite that you're drawing is not
you
going...
You can see it from all the way over there?
It's kind of hard to see. I'm listening.
Okay, that's fine. Look, the point is, in an issue of principlism, the reason why I think the negative rights framework ought to be preferred is because in any other sort of situation where you're justifying rights violations that aren't in response to aggression, then if it is in response to aggression, then it's not a rights violation. But anyway, if in any other scenario besides a negative rights framework, what ends up happening is you say, okay, well, it's okay to violate your rights if blah. So, okay, now once you said that, already you've established that it's acceptable to set up algorithms of exception. Where you go, okay, well, it's okay to violate someone's rights if you fear for your life. Well, that's the standard we told cops that they have to meet. If they're afraid for their life, it's okay to shoot somebody. But that means we're telling them whether or not you get to kill somebody depends on your emotions.
Mm-hmm. And like no one can know your emotions except for yourself, so it's so easy to lie about it.
Right. So I mean, and it fails to test reciprocal burdens. Okay, so if we want to let the police shoot citizens if the police fear for their lives based on their emotions, can I shoot a police officer if I'm afraid because an armed man is approaching my car? Well, he had a gun. Well, he's a cop. I know, he had a gun, he's a cop, they have a history of violence. I was afraid for my life, I shot him to death. Is that okay? Can I make that argument?
You're not a cop.
Oh no, well then it fails to test reciprocal burdens. It's a bad idea to give that to the cops because if we apply it reciprocally, if we turn the same thing around, if it's okay for you, it's okay for me, the same argument, if you get to make this argument chain, then I get to make this argument chain too. Right? That's a fundamental problem with making bad arguments, is they can always be turned by identifying the mechanism and saying, if in fact it is valid to utilize this mechanism to justify behavior, then I can use this mechanism to justify the following behavior. There's only one mechanism that doesn't allow anyone to justify any bullshit.
True.
The negative rights framework. Okay? So if you say, well, the justification for the behavior is because it protects individuals who are having their rights violated, then that's okay, as long as it doesn't instigate rights violations. If it's predictive, if it says, let's make a law that violates some rights based on the prediction that it's going to protect a bunch of other rights. Okay? Well, the rights you violate are certain because you're saying now it is your job to go violate these rights for this good enough reason. The rights you violate are certain. The good enough reason is predicted. And whether or not the good enough reason actually happens, the outcome you desire happens, how much it's linked to the behavior you engaged in is always going to be questionable. You can't actually claim those benefits in a real world situation. Say, since we put that stop sign in at this intersection, traffic fatalities have dropped 100% in the last year. 100%. Last year, traffic fatalities were 100% greater. Now we put in the stop sign, they've gone down 100%. This stop sign was a brilliant, brilliant idea. Right? Can we conclude that?
Oops, someone just died.
Can we conclude that?
Oh.
No.
No, because probably there was one traffic fatality at that intersection last year, which prompted them to put in a stop sign. There had been 0 the previous 10 years, and there's 0 the year after they put in the stop sign. Did the stop sign change anything? No, it made people feel like they did something. That's all. But it'll get credited for doing something. Putting in that stop sign will get credited for a 100% drop in traffic fatalities at this intersection. That's how public policy works. So that's why we as individuals and we as a nation have an obligation to not play into the lies, right? Don't play into the lies. If China says this is not a cup from the habit, the United States should say, yes, it is.
It says the words, the habit, burger, grill on
That's a
it.
different habit.
The United States should not say, ignoring the issue of the name of the cup that China is referring to, we have no official stance on this. That's not what the United States should say, because now all of a sudden we've legitimized the notion that China can change reality by declaring it to be different than it is. And there's no reason to empower them to do that kind of nonsense, right? Okay, so principlism just simply says, hold my opponents, hold China, hold all parties to reciprocal burdens. Make them advocate for something that is defensible. If, in fact, they're advocating for something that violates reciprocal burdens, it may take some digging to get to the bottom of the pile of bullshit they do to cover that up. When you get to the bottom, that's the problem with it. It violates core axiomatic principles. It breaks the system. If we do not have a constraining principle or a limiting principle that stops the system from growing too much in one area, then it breaks it. Like, for example, if we have a computer game like football, and in this one version of the game, if you hand it off to this one running back, he can always run and score a touchdown, then the game is broken. Nobody wants to play it anymore. Why don't they want to play it? Because that's all everybody does all the time. The game designers understand they have to balance games out so that people can do different things, that people can't exploit a glitch in the game to always beat you with, or something like that. This is important, and if they do, then not only does the game experience become worse for everybody, the game itself dies, right? If there's an online gaming community and there's a huge glitch that causes the game to not be fun for everybody because it's not fair, then it causes nobody to want to play that game anymore. We have a similar situation in reality, and we have an opportunity to change reality ourselves by changing that conversation. by saying, as a nation from now on, everybody, we're done playing the bullshit games. We're not going to play statescraft and hidden innuendo and secrets and cloak and dagger shit and all that other stuff. We're going to say what we mean. We're going to mean what we say. We're going to do what we say. We're not going to say we're going to do very much. And we're going to stay out of your business. And we're going to try to make a shitload of money.
Start at 6:45, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our plan going forward as a nation under the Strauss presidency.
I'm gonna toss this. You want me to toss that?
Now, guys, listen. I'm going to be counting on you guys to be important figures in my campaign, because I figure by the time you're out of high school, about 19 or 20, you guys, that's be when I've got a serious shot to win the presidency, okay?
Alright, cool.
So 2020.
2020 sounds about right. And listen, you can really do a lot with your career. Starting off as my campaign manager, once I become president, it looks great on a resume, right? And unlike a lot of presidents, I'm going to want to have all my associated team members on Talking with Famous People. See, the Strauss presidency will be broadcast entirely on Talking with Famous People. I'll live stream the whole thing.
Awesome.
There's not going to be any secret room, backroom deals or shit. This is supposed to be a citizen democracy. That's not the right button, Eric. God damn it. I'm so dumb. Yes, I am. I'm dumb, 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 dumb. Hooray!
That video should be named Strauss 2020.
Yeah. Word up.